Hey everybody, tonight we're talking about carb timing, carb cycling, and carb periodization. Those are all common words that just mean being aware of when you should eat higher carbs versus lower carbs. And it is really important for endurance, really important for performance, as well as your body composition and building lean muscle and hitting those weight loss targets if you have them, or maintaining, or even gaining some weight. Carbs play a big role in both our performance and our body composition. And when we're looking at training and being an active person, there's times where we want to eat more carbs, some carbs, and less carbs. And an example of that is with the endurance athletes I coach when they have a big training day, such as a long 2 hour plus run or bike ride. I recommend that they eat a very high carbohydrate breakfast, and that could look like having 2 to 4 pancakes with some maple syrup and fruit. It could be having a bagel with some peanut butter and some fruit, or some oatmeal with some fresh fruit on top. Those are more high carb breakfasts that help with the energy levels and set them up to have a successful workout and have that high energy that they need. But on the flip side, if you're having a lower activity day, a rest day, having a bunch of pancakes is not going to be your best option as a nutrient dense, high quality recovery breakfast. Something that would be better would be omelet with 3 to 4 eggs, depending on your body size, with some vegetables and maybe a extra protein like a chicken, a tofu, or um, a ground beef or something like that. Or another example would be a plain Greek yogurt with some fruit on it that's higher in protein, and it's going to help you with your recovery. And it's also going to help you not get in as high calories and hit your body composition goals as well. And I know for many of us, that's important. I mean, um, we're being active each day, we're strength training, and we're eating well to support our performance. And part of that is to look good and feel good as well. And a high energy diet helps that. So I've come up with a system that has made the carbohydrate intake pretty easy. It's a traffic light system, so it's categorized by red, which is the low activity days, yellow is moderate activity, and then green is high activity. So you can think about it, red is like stop, hold back, right? Not as many carbs. We want to up the protein and up the vegetables and the nutrient density of our food. And then yellow, moderate activity, we want to support and have higher energy that day. So we want to include some high quality carbohydrates before those activities and after as well. And then the green light, those are those high activity days I was talking about. Those are those long intensity days. Those are the competition. That's really when you want to load up on carbs. And to understand carbohydrates, you guys know I am a major supporter of carbohydrates because it's the primary energy source for high intensity exercise. They get broken down into glucose, and we use that. Our body produces ATP, and that's the energy currency in our cells, and that's what gives us energy and allows us to exercise at that higher intensity. And it also plays a big role in sustained activity such as endurance. And as those glucose stores get depleted, your energy will dip, and that's where we think about hitting the wall or bonking. And we want to try to avoid that in our activities as well as our daily life, and even just working. When you're feeling a little low on energy, it might be because you need some healthy carbs, like a fruit or um, a complex carbohydrate. And when you have high availability of carbs in exercise and high activity, it helps support performance. It's the exercise science. There's really no arguing it. And your risk of injuries actually goes down because your body's performing better. Where if you have a low availability and you're going in depleted from carbohydrates, you're going to impair your performance, and your activity levels will potentially um, not be as good, and the risk of injury and illness goes up. So there's different ways that we process our carbohydrates and have low energy availability, right? You think about inadvertently having low carb and low energy is when our training volume increases, but we don't give our bodies the extra nutrients that it needs to sustain that energy and that activity level. So it's not on purpose, just our volume goes up and we don't match our intake. And that's really where the carb cycling comes in. And then of course you have the intentional, and this is deliberately restricting your eating to control your weight and reduce body fat. So this is what we're getting at with the red light, green light, yellow light, that we want to intentionally sometimes drop those carbohydrate levels so we can focus on our optimal body composition and building that lean muscle as well. And then last, you have the disordered eating, unhealthy eating that we all know about, and not getting enough energy in the body, creating low energy levels, and all kinds of bad health related illnesses, such as bone related injuries and repeated illnesses, and declined in performance. So when we're looking at the red light, green light, red light, yellow light, green light, I have made a PDF that I'm going to share with you guys that will give you a visual of what that looks like. But on those low intensity days, for example, just having 1 to 1.5 grams of carbohydrates per pound of your body mass per day. So you're really restricting the carbs more on those low intensity days. And then moderate intensity training up to an hour of moderate or high intensity, you can up those carbs to 1.5 to 2.5 grams. And then when we're looking at the green light, 1 to 3 hours, that's when we're really getting those carbs in at the 2.5 to 4 grams of carbohydrates per pound of body mass. And that's going to be different with everybody. We're not robots. Our bodies are different. So you want to play with it, but also just having the knowledge and naming it and understanding that when it's a rest day, you should be focusing on eating more proteins and eating more vegetables. And then it's possible that in the evening, you might have a big workout the next day. So you might need to eat some carbohydrates in that evening to prepare yourself for that higher intensity workout in the morning. But in general, when we're on our step back weeks or between training, our activity levels aren't as high. We want to cut some of those carbohydrates out of our meal. And I've made also on the PDF, there's a performance meal wheel, and this divides your plate into proteins and healthy fats. Proteins and healthy fats is what we call our recovery foods. And then we have our fruits and vegetables that support our body. They give us all our vitamins and minerals, really good for us. They're also low in calories. We can eat a ton of them. And then we have our carbohydrates, what you should really look at as fuel. It's what gives us our energy. And then, of course, we don't want to forget hydration and how important it is to stay hydrated for performance. But today we're really talking about carb timing. And I have a good list of your recovery foods, but those are high protein. So you're looking at your meats, poultry, lean red meats, tofu, milk, yogurts, and beans and legumes. Those are all nuts and seeds, high protein foods. And then the support foods is all your fruits and vegetables, and you want to eat the rainbow of it. So think about all of your spinach, your carrots, your peppers, apples, all of that as your supporting foods. And then your fuel, you're looking at more of those starchy type carbohydrates, cereal, pasta, rice, quinoa, potatoes, breads, dates, dry fruits, oat bars, and energy balls, and energy supplements that some people, some of us, most of us use for long endurance activities such as running, cycling, and swimming. Um, when you're looking at performance meal wheel and carbohydrates and how our body stores carbs as glycogen in our muscles and in our liver, and it is the dominant fuel source for intense and prolonged activities. So we want to make sure we our glycogen stores are influenced by our activity level. And there are two types of carbohydrates. You've got the complex carbs and you have the simple carbs. And those complex carbs are the ones that provide sustained energy. They're higher in dietary fiber and are essential for the functions of your body. And then you have your simple carbs, which are really quickly absorbed. Those are your sugars that give you that immediate energy and are beneficial during a high intensity or that prolonged endurance. So you can think about it like this: rest day, low activity day, reduce your carb intake, especially from those simple sources. Try to cut out the sugars, and then increase your fruit and your vegetable intake with protein and keep that protein higher. People always say, oh, but fruit's high in sugar, right? It's a natural sugar that is naturally part of our food system, and it's a lot different than processed sugars and man-made sugars and how it interacts with the body. And anytime you eat whole foods, we don't worry as much about it. Simply, you just can't eat as much of it as you would if you did it in a supplement or in a more simple sugar or even a juice. On a moderate day, that's when you're getting that more balanced plate to provide a higher intake of carbohydrates with the introduction of more grains and starches on your plate. And then for that high intensity day, and this is mostly for a lot of us, our morning meal, but also our recovery meal, the pre and the post training, you want to eliminate high fat foods and instead emphasize a greater proportion of your plate with the grains and the starches. And you want to reduce your focus on fiber. And you can incorporate a little bit of a leaner protein depending on how early you have it. And that will help you be ready for your higher activity and not have any issues with your stomach. None of us like stomach issues. And then when we're looking at carbohydrates further, I've categorized them into category 1, 2, and 3. And category 1 are your nutrient-rich fibrous carbs. These are your whole grain breads, cereals, oats, potatoes, squash, quinoa, those types of healthy foods. And then you have your category 2, which is your more simple. This is they're lower in fiber, and these work really well. They still contain some nutrients, just lower levels. And those are your white breads, your white rice, sugars, dried fruit, breakfast cereals, and then those gels. And these things typically sit well in the stomach and give you quick energy that you can use for your higher activity days. And these are more suited for pre and post training meals. And they are ones that you should limit more for your body composition goals when you're not having high intensity or prolonged intensity training day. And then the last one is high fat, high carb foods and drinks that are high in carbohydrates, but also high in fat. These are often don't have much nutrients. They typically should be avoided unless you need an immediate source of carbohydrates. They can be good during activity or directly after, and those are looking at your like your chips, your pastries, your chocolates, and more of those sugary items that sometimes your body craves because that your body's telling you it needs carbohydrates. So that covers most of the carbohydrates. I also, on this PDF, go pretty deep into proteins, healthy fats, and fruits and vegetables and how you incorporate those, since it's important as you get to those lower fuel training days to up those vegetables and up that protein and really follow that guidance. And then on those medium days, having more of a balance of the vegetables, the high protein, and the carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates. And then the high fueling days, again, limiting down those fibrous carbohydrate or those fibrous foods such as the vegetables, which vegetables do have carbohydrates, as well as the proteins and the fats, and really focusing on getting those carbs to help fuel your body. And don't forget, even after you finish activity that is high intensity or prolonged over an hour or more, you do need to replace some of your carbohydrates, and that's a good protein shake with some carbohydrates is a great way to do that. Chocolate milk, I always recommend to people, or just a nice balanced meal that has some protein, some healthy carbs, that such as a potato or a whole grain rice and those vegetables. And if you stick to that, the red light, green light, the red light, yellow light, green light system, you're gonna improve, you're gonna see enhances in your performance, and you're definitely gonna see enhances in your performance, but also your body composition and how you build lean muscle and shed off unwanted fat. So carbohydrate timing is super important. It's a bit more of advanced nutrition strategy, and for active people, it's something you should learn to do. Timing your carbs, carb cycling, and carb periodization. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, shoot me a message. I'm happy to answer any questions on any of the nutrition information that I provided tonight or that you have that is separate from this.